When you described your Nike shoebox to me, I was blown away. Again, being a bit of a hermit, going to that concert with you was the second concert that I've been to in my life. And now all of a sudden we've got all these concerts lined up together, which it's funny, I've lived in California longer than you have, but one of the text messages you sent me was, you know, let me introduce you to Southern California. You showed me more of Southern California that I've seen my life living here. Tell me about that, or tell everyone else about that shoebox of tickets.
I have an entire old box from Air Jordan 1s or something that I had, completely filled with ticket stubs, which to this day, if I can get a regular ticket rather than print one of those out, I still prefer, because I like to add to the collection. Because I always felt like I would love to have a house where I had this huge glass table with all the tickets from all the concerts that I went to underneath it, which would be cool. But yeah, an entire shoebox filled with concert, because I love music, like I said. And that's another thing I put off for years, is playing the guitar. I used to play the guitar years ago, and then I stopped because I was just too busy, you know? But no one's too busy to do anything. You're kind of just making that excuse. Music is next to fitness and training is my biggest obsession. I love music. If I could do anything, I'd be a rock star, but I guess everyone says that. But I'm glad we got you out of your shell a little, getting to some concerts. Had a blast. Got a bunch lined up.
I tailgated.
Fun, yes. Tailgated for the first time.
First time. That was great. What led to you moving out to California?
I just had to get out of Jersey. I had to get out of Jersey.
You had your gym there.
Yeah. But I had wanted to move out here for years, a long time. I almost moved out here when my friend got a role on a TV show, probably in the late 90s or early 2000s. She wanted me to come out and train her and the cast of the show. And I strongly considered it, but I think my career would have ended up differently, and I'm glad I stayed, and I didn't want to come out here and just train movie stars. I was enjoying training football players and fighters and all that. I love that. But I mean, I just wanted to be near the beach, and I wanted to be I couldn't have another winter. I survived 35 or 36 winters, and this year they got destroyed back east, and I couldn't take another winter. And now that I've been living here 3.5 years, if it's below 60, I'm in a parka, I'm freezing, you know? So I don't like the cold. I mean, once you've been to Southern Cali, it's a different vibe. I'm more chill now than I used to be. And all my friends who come out to visit, they say that, like, wow, people are nice to you here, people talk to you here, you know? And it's,
hey man, that was a big culture shock to me the first time I went to Manhattan.
Yeah.
And literally, I'm being yelled at by the woman behind the counter at the Starbucks to hurry up. There's a line behind me.
Right.
Cabs are trying to run you over.
Yeah.
People don't care which way you're walking, and it was pretty overwhelming. I got to be honest with you, having grown up here, to be there. So I imagine the opposite for you. So did you find it strange having to slow down?
So yeah, totally. So when we first got here, we were walking. It was funny because there's this bar on our street that's owned by a guy from New York. And so we were walking down the street, and everybody's out saying hi. And even on the East Coast, if I make eye contact with someone, I nod or say what's up. That's just how I've always been. But that doesn't go over so well in New York, you know? So we're walking down the street, and everybody's saying hello, blah, blah, blah. And then we get to this one bar, and I said, hey, what's up, man? The guy's like, go fuck yourself. He barely even looked at me, you know? And then we found out later that day the guy's from New York, and I was like, oh, okay, makes sense.
Total sense.
Yeah. And no offense to anyone from New York and New Jersey, man, I love that. I grew up like that. I get the attitude, but just couldn't do it anymore.
That's interesting. I've always wondered why that was.
And then when I went back to New York a couple weeks ago, and I'm walking around nodding, saying hi to everybody, nothing. They're like, who's this lunatic? Yeah.
Who's this lunatic? That's a great way to put it. All right, so you've been working on these podcasts. Can I kind of dig a little bit into them, and why? How did you think of it? What's the content? What's the purpose?
20 years ago, I went to school for communications, and I wanted to either be an anchor on SportsCenter or make films. But I put that off for 20 years, and I had a successful career. But then now I live, 15 minutes from Hollywood. I have a lot of friends who are involved in it. And I said, knock on wood, now I'm financially secure enough where I could take risks and do other things and do things I'm more passionate about. And I always have been a big fan of comedians and Howard Stern and just of art in general. I mean, my obsession with music, and I get really, really into things. I mean, get to the point where, I'll rewind a verse and be like, dude, did you hear that? No, you're not listening. Listen to what he said. Like, how do you think of that? Or I'll just see things like if a comedian or a talk show host does something a certain way, like, dude, did you see how he transitioned into that? I get really obsessed with things. And so, and I noticed that I was starting to, when I was listening to Howard Stern or watch Jimmy Fallon, more of it would be like analytical studying. That's cool. And I said, you know what? I got to get back into stuff that's outside of fitness that I was passionate about 20 years ago that I put off for so long. And so with the podcast, I just wanted to branch out and just try it and, you know, see how I was at it. I hadn't done any of that stuff in 20 years. So basically, you know, right now, the gist of the show is it's still a self-improvement based show. I think I'll always be in the self-improvement industry, maybe not so much just pure fitness, but it's fitness and health, finances and wealth and entrepreneurship, that kind of stuff, just productivity, getting shit done, simplifying your life, happiness, and sex, dating, and women. Just all stuff that guys would be interested in.
The things that matter.
Make your life better, exactly. So, you know, we have a guest on each week talking about that kind of stuff. But then I don't want it to be cookie cutter where we're just asking questions, you know. So, and I'm trying to get better at it, and I want to make it funny, make it entertaining. So far, so good. And we'll see. And then, you know, I'd like to get into maybe filming more stuff and getting involved in the production of some films and documentaries. So a lot of things in the works that I'm excited about, that I could get up in the morning and be just as passionate about as I was about writing a training article a few years ago. And the cool thing is, doing that other stuff kind of in a way reignites my passion for the other stuff, because it's not my main focus anymore, you know? Like if I know I have this little amount of time to dedicate to this, it works better for me. And I feel like we're in a time anyway, I mean, of course you do this yourself, like there used to be, you had to focus and be a master of one, you didn't want to be a jack of all trades, but now I feel like doing more stuff, it just makes you more efficient, you know?
So, regrets, man. What kind of regrets do you have, if any?
Many. That I worked too much, like we said, and missed out on things, put things off, missed out on experiences with friends, didn't pursue certain things that I was passionate about earlier, and just thought that I had to work 24 hours a day. Those are probably my biggest regrets.
It's funny because, again, talking in the car, that's exactly the stuff that I regret. You don't regret about, and we hear this all the time. No one says, I wish I worked more.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling anybody watching this to not work. I think everybody should grind, should shovel shit, like you said.
Yeah.
You've got to bust your ass. But if we can give someone who's 10, 12, 15 years younger than us the advice of have the experiences, but work efficiently so you can get more done in that time. Holy crap, if I can get myself...
because you'll get just as much done.
That's it.
And you'll have a much more enriching, fulfilling life.
Yeah, I really did put a lot of stuff off. And in hindsight, you know, I justify it by, hey, I'm doing it now. Like I was able to take my son to San Diego for a couple of days and get off the radar. Not care about internet, emails, promotions, any of that stuff. But I think I could have struck a good balance with that 4 years ago. You know, I didn't have to wait
longer.
Yeah. You don't realize you're going to have a regret until you have it, and then it's too late. So if there's something you want to do, you ought to just do it, and then work your ass off to achieve whatever money, wealth, or financial position you be in to be able to afford that thing that you wanted to do. My dad, speaking of regret, and this is something which is why I love traveling, when we first came to America, he told me that he wanted to sell his store. So he was in his 40s, like early 40s when we came to America. And he opened up a little tailor shop after a few years of being here. And the tailor shop, you know, he just did the best he can, and he grew a little business and bought a house, etc. And he would always tell us that when I retire, I want to go back and visit Armenia, and I want to take a cruise to the Greek islands, and all these things that he wanted to do. I think what he forgot to do is do it then, because he didn't realize that when he retires, he's going to be in his 60s.
Right.
And the experiences that he has now in his, well, now he just celebrated his 80th birthday, and he's strong like a mule, but in his 60s, he couldn't experience that like he could have like in his late 40s and 50s. My point is, he could have then, but he kept putting it off because now let me get the house, now let me just stash away a little more money. But I remember talking to him and saying,
that's
hey,
a great
man,
point. Totally. And because you and I are only 39 now, but I'm starting to do things that I'm like, why didn't I start this when I was 25, you know?
Couldn't you surf better when you're in your 20s?
Of course.
It'd
be so much better.
And it's just all those things. And now he's afraid to go back to Armenia because he says, hey, you know, the economy there and how the government is, and what if because we escaped from Armenia, right? And so what if they capture me? But when he was in his 40s, even early 50s, he didn't care about any of that stuff. He felt like he had the strength and the endurance to take on anything. He's a little more fragile now. So I think about that. Like, what am I putting off today that I'm going to regret doing when I'm 60, 70, 80? That was one of the greatest lessons, and hopefully a lesson I can pass along to others. So let's talk about something that's I don't know, I always like to ask people, like 3 years from now, if I'm interviewing you, what are the things that I'm going to learn about you that they're just going to blow us all away?
Well, I want to have a few businesses like the coffee business outside of fitness. And I would like some type of philanthropy / giving back to be a fundamental kind of principle in all of them. So I have a few ideas. I definitely want to continue to work less but more efficiently, continue to pursue my passions. I'm really happy with my life now and what I'm doing now, so I'm not going to do anything drastically different that you're going to be like, wow, I can't believe that. You know, it's just
the sex change. I didn't even see it coming.
right. Yeah. Except that one, but yeah. So I'm just happy with the path I'm on, and every day, like we discussed before, two of the most important things to me are knowledge and skill acquisition. So every day I just continue. I try to continue to get better, learn something new, learn a new skill, acquire more knowledge. So I hope, hopefully I'll be a lot better than I am now in 3 years. But I don't necessarily measure my success in how much money I'm making anymore. And I was caught up in that trap for a little while because I have so many friends that are so successful. You, Craig, there's a lot of my friends that make more money than I do. And I remember when I spoke at your event last September, the Mastermind in Vegas. Was that last September or the year before?
Last.
Okay. So I was talking about how I kind of was focused on numbers more at that time. And I had an awakening in the fall around November. And I remember when I first read Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Work Week, and he said, what do you figure out what your ideal lifestyle is and how much money it's going to take to fund that. And I figured it out in my head. And I said to myself, $1,000 a day net profit seems like I could do everything I want to do because, again, I don't care about material things and stuff like that. So I said, that sounds cool. I think that's perfect for me. I didn't want to just be focused on work all the time. I want to be someone who's able to hang out and have fun and talk about things other than work and make the world a better place and just be stupid, just play pranks. Like, if you live closer, I would like for you and I just to hang out and just do stupid things and, laugh and joke around. Like, it doesn't have to be serious. Like, why can't we act like we were kids, Like, why was it okay for you and I to come over and hang out and just watch TV when we were 21, but 20 years later we can't do it? Like, why not? I just like, I don't know what this has to do with the question you asked me, but anyway, now I've confused myself. But.
You're a deep thinker, man. Yeah. You are a deep thinker. If there's one thing I've learned about you, and I think it's important, or it'd be neat for people watching this to know about you, is that there's two complete extreme sides of you. And I asked you before the camera started to roll here that, do you ever argue with yourself? And, and you said you do.
Yeah.
Having said that, you're also one of the fucking funniest people I've ever met. I'll wrap up with this because this is going to add a lot of value to the people watching. You continue to do things that are out of your comfort zone. And whether it was your gym business to moving to Southern California and really turning pro with your online info product authority business, let's call it that, to now this coffee business. And we're talking comedy and Hollywood. I know you're being modest, but I have an idea of what you've told me of what you're looking to do, and I think you're going to blow people away. You're going to do it amazingly well.
Thank you.
What keeps driving you to do the things that are so uncomfortable, like bumping into a shark 2 years ago and saying, fuck it, I'm going back in the water? Because that one thing, that if you can describe what that thing is that gets you to say, I'm going to do that even though it's scary, is a solution to everybody's problem. What is that thing?
Yeah. If you don't do things you fear, you're never going to grow. And that's what's so important to me is personal growth. I mean, I'm really hard on myself. I could be super chill and have fun and do whatever, but if I don't feel like I'm evolving and growing and helping other people in some way, I will get down on myself. And I battled with depression years ago. I don't have it anymore, but if that happens where I don't feel like that, I'm experiencing that growth, I can get down on myself and then I need to get back on track. So for me, it's just always about getting better every day and always facing your fears. So I just do anything that is scary. I feel like I have to do. I have to push myself. You got to face those fears and overcome them every day. And that's really living, Like if you're not overcoming fears and facing them and taking on new challenges, you're kind of really not living. So I like to live life to the fullest and having friends that have died. And I guess as you get older, death becomes, it comes to the forefront, or maybe it's more of a reality or your own mortality. So yeah, I mean, you just know that it could be over at any given minute. So because of that, I always want to face fears, but I never want to work. And that was what I was saying before. I don't want to work too much and be focused just on making money. Like I make enough money now, and I've consciously made a decision to make less money. Well, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm okay with it, making less money than I was. And to be quite honest, there was a time within the last few years that I compared myself with you and Craig and other successful friends and said, I'm not doing as well as they are. I need to push harder, but that's not really what makes me happy. Like, I make enough money now that I'm happy, so I want to do other things, I'd rather spend time with you as a friend and hang out and go to a concert than be like, how can I grow my business this way, this way, this way? Like, I'm kind of, cross my fingers, I'm kind of there now, so I just focus on what's important to me and what's going to make me happy, and that's just personal growth and making the world a better place.